My name's Oriana and I'm the founder of Medicine Mountain Scrub Company. We are a mountain-inspired brand, so we really take that soul that you feel in your bones when you're in the mountain. We want to infuse some of that spirit into the workplace. I came up with this idea because I want every woman in medicine to show up to work feeling prepared, feeling beautiful, feeling comfortable in their skin so they can effectively do their job. That is the bigger scope of Medicine Mountain Scrub Company. Scrubs out there right now are non-functional and not practical. Design elements that don't have any function and don't make sense, deep plunging V-necks, clothes that don't cover your body in the positions that you work in. We deal with enough already. We shouldn't have to worry about exposing our bodies while we do it. You are a woman in medicine who does the dirty work with grit and grace. You help people through their hardest moments with humor, presence, with this solid state of being when you enter a room that people feel more comfortable. You don't get into medicine to take the easy route. When you go to the mountains and you do hard things on purpose, you get that feeling of a great accomplishment. When you crush it at the hospital, you get a similar feeling. When you put our scrubs on, I want you to feel like you can take on anything. We tried to think of every element of what we might encounter in our day and design our fabric to take on those challenges. The Alpine scrub set has a four-way stretch, so it can move with your body in any position. It is a twill weave, which gives it this great denim rugged look. It is sustainably sourced, ethically manufactured, wrinkle resistant, lightweight, breathable, soft. Really wanted to bring the hues of the mountainscape and the alpine into the colors of the fabric itself. There are 12 pockets on the pant. There are 10 pockets on the shirt. And so divide it up for your flushes, for your phone, your scissors, anything that you might need throughout your day, and that you have all your tools in your toolbox to show up and do your job with good time management as well. Creating a new product has been a huge adventure. It is much more difficult than I first thought. I think every entrepreneur will tell you that. So it's taken an incredible amount of grit and resilience and faith to even get to where we are today. We need your help to bring this product and this company to life. We're launching this product only on Kickstarter in the hopes that you will invest in us and help create this dream. Of course, there's going to continue to be challenges, but I think in our jobs in medicine, we face unexpected challenges every single day. And in that way, I feel pretty prepared for whatever comes next. Mountains are my medicine is a phrase that many of us can identify with because we go into the mountains to heal ourselves. That's where we get back in touch with our souls, so we can continue to wake up and go to work every day and take that soul sister authenticity and transform it outward to serve others.
Hello, my name's Oriana Turley. I am the co-founder and CEO of Medicine Mountain Scrub Company. We are a new startup based out of rural Montana, and we are providing an ethical and sustainable alternative to fast fashion in the medical workwear space. I am a registered nurse myself, and I really wanted to dig deep and provide an authentic brand for mountain-inspired workwear, specifically for women, designed by women.
Hello, Oriana. I want to say thank you. You're another amazing person that I saw literally on TV, and I'm like, I need to reach out to her and ask her to have a conversation. So yay. I want to this is like a moment of, I saw a small little snippet because on TV, it's so small, but I'm giving you that moment of talking and getting to know you a little bit better. So thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with what I love the most so far is your name, Oriana. What a spectacular name. I've never heard that before. How did you get your name?
Yeah, so I was actually raised in the Back to the Land movement in Southern Oregon. My parents went back to the
The back
land.
to the what movement?
Back to the Land movement in the early 70s. So instead of during the Vietnam War protest era, a group of people in various West Coast areas went back to the land and started living a subsistence-based lifestyle. And my parents were part of that movement. And so I'm actually named after the constellation Orion. I was born before dawn when it was high in the sky. So it's a really kind of earth-based culture connected to nature. And that's how I got my name.
Oh my God. All right. So best story ever. Best, like, holy crap, that's the best story ever. I'm from the island, so my family's from Haiti, and so I'm all nature all the time. I live like, I'm looking at the ocean where I live, which is a town called Marblehead in Massachusetts. So anything that's back to the earth, that's like literally the stars. I mean, my number one travel place is one day is in the stars. I mean, I cannot wait till they have like regular people travel overseas in the stars. So your name, oh my God, I love it. But all right, so there's so much I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to start from the bases. Let's talk about a little bit more about who you are, because the biggest thing that I want to have people hear is everyone that has a company, everyone that has an idea, concept, or a service, there's a story behind the person. So can we just learn, who are you from the start? Like literally, like, your parents named you, and walk me through the story before we get to your business and your profession.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up really close to nature. I grew up on a 40-acre farm surrounded by wilderness in the Siskiyou Mountains. And so kind of ingrained in my family's upbringing is just this connectedness to the planet and, you know, taking what you need and nothing more, and really just trying to preserve nature in its rarest form. And so I think that really has carried with me through my life and translated into my business, really focused on ethics and sustainability at the core of our brand and what we're trying to do with Medicine Mountain Scrub Company as well.
All right. So how was it for you growing up the way that you did? I mean, like, I think it's, I mean, there are kids that are full on city kids. They have no desire to go out in nature. They see nature, they freak out. I mean, just crickets, like, literally freak them out. I am the smell of being in the woods on a rainy day in autumn, by far one of my favorite moments. The smell of the ocean, just the sound of the ocean. The environment really fuels me, but yet I could be in New York City and really be inspired and like really jazzed at the same time. How did the way that your parents chose to raise you, and I don't know if you have siblings or not, how did that actually change your mindset in regards of your profession? Because you're a nurse and it's all about helping people, but you were raised in nature. You could have gone into farming. You could have gone into so many different ways. So what was it that happened, or they did, or they provided for you that made it where I am embracing this, but then at the same time, I'm going to sit there and find ways to help others?
Absolutely. So I think the hallmark, I had a great childhood, really community focused, taking care of one another. And I think that definitely reflects in my work as a nurse, just being a compassionate person and connecting to other humans and really focusing on being present when I'm with another person. And I will mention my sister Golden is my co-founder in my company. So it's the two of us. And but yeah, it really has carried through this independent spirit and this connectedness to community living. And I think that reflects, yeah, again, in being a nurse, it's an important skill to think for yourself, but also be able to be present and empathetic toward other people's perspectives and their energy levels in a room. And I mean, I just can't thank my parents enough for raising me the way that they did, because it really, yeah, it's made me a strong, independent human, and given me the ability to critically think for myself and be a lifelong learner and just always want to acquire more knowledge and connect with others.
The job of a nurse right now, I mean, so I'm a former teacher, like years ago, former teacher in a classroom, second graders and sixth graders, evolved into being in the media and in government. I still teach. I mean, it's in me. Everything that I do is all about educating the world. Teachers, nurses, like, I mean, I can go on and on and on in regards of, you are literally a gift from God in regards of what you do and how you do it. And I think that people have taken it for granted because nurses are overworked. before the pandemic, overworked, and you have the traveling nurses, but you have the individuals that are there. You have people that are loving the profession, people that are not doing a great job. And so that the small percentage that are not doing a great job are the ones that people hear about the most. It's unfortunate. You never hear the goods, you hear and linger on the bads. Why did you choose the nursing profession? And this is a conversation before the pandemic. Why did you choose this profession knowing that it's long hours, it's not something you're going to get a pat on the back, the pay isn't as great as it should be at all? So why this route, and what kind of nurse are you?
Yeah, so I'll start off. I'm a neuro-ortho nurse, so I work in an acute care in a hospital. And now these days we're all pretty much COVID nurses, of course. But I got into nursing initially because it's a profession that I can be proud of, but also because I can own my time some. I'm a big outdoors person. I say I've had 9 lives. I'm in my mid-30s, but I've probably had 4 or 5 different professions. I worked in the outdoor industry through my 20s. I taught whitewater kayaking. I was a raft guide. Spent a lot of time in the mountains and traveling. And I really wanted a job where I could make a decent living and I could support a family, but that I also had time off and flexibility. And that was a huge driver, in addition to having a profession that had dignity and that was, a worthwhile profession to pursue.
It's funny that you just said you were a whitewater rafting guide, which I've been to whitewater rafting many times, go up to Maine. It's by far one of my favorite things in the world. I have a videotape of me falling out and just like being pulled, like literally, the guides were amazing. And my mom is standing next to me, bawling her eyes out. And I'm next to you. It's the videotape. It's okay, Mom. It takes there's a lot of training. Those rivers, Mother Nature changes her mind at any given time. So the same river that you've gone down many, 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 many times can change because of a gust of wind or something that just like shifts. It's a lot of training, and there's no clear, oh, look, I'm going to be a lifeguard or I'm going to be a there's so much into that. Converting into a nurse, learning curve. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, a learning curve, but also a natural fit. I think that, and this is part of why I started Medicine Mountain Scrub Company, is there's this new demographic, especially in the Mountain West, of folks who have worked in the outdoor industry transitioning into healthcare because it is a natural fit. You're used to being responsible for others in somewhat intense situations. You have to think quickly on your feet. You have skill sets that take a long time to develop, but are then ingrained in your mind, body, and soul. Mm-hmm. And so I think there is a big demographic of those of us who worked in the outdoor industry, live that seasonal life for a long time. And women especially, who then we want to have children, we want to have families, we want to have homes. And it's a natural fit to kind of transition in. Obviously, being a nurse is super intense. You're indoors in an intense environment. Lots of things come your way. But there are some similarities. The difference between having an adrenaline rush and anxiety is only a couple of degrees different from each other. And it's the way that you internalize those scenarios and how you perform. And I think that is very similar to dealing with intense situations in the moment in the outdoors or the adventure industry. And then going to the hospital and you have a med team or you have people who are going downhill, you kind of kick into that same, route of like, okay, I know what this feels like. I know that I can handle this. I can think clearly. I can slow my body down, my physical reaction down, and be helpful in this situation. And I think in that way, outdoors people are really well suited to work in these high intensity hospital scenarios.
I love that you said that because one, I would have never thought of that until you broke it down, because if you're thinking about where those individuals that go hiking and they're lost in the woods, and then there's that individual, that the helicopter team or whoever's that's out there trekking and finding them, and they know that they know the medical care to kick in right then and there. They're outdoor in the elements. When I was a teacher, I did traditional teaching in the classroom for 2 years, and then 2 years I was in a school without walls, and so all classrooms were outdoors. And everyone's like, well, how was it, like weren't you comfortable being in a classroom or outdoors? I'm like, you know what, it's funny because what I love the most about the transition was same skill sets, but you're helping other people, meaning that the kids that were excelling, that were always getting the straight A's, that were always like right in front of the class, were doing great. And then there's like the kids that were labeled, oh, the troublemakers. And then in the school without walls, now they're outdoors. And those students that weren't doing great, it switched over and they were excelling. And the kids that were in the traditional setting were not doing as well. So it was really amazing to see both ways. And just for you to see both ways as well, same skill sets, but you're excelling and helping individuals in both ways. March happens. I mean, February, you start getting, especially you're in the medical field, you start hearing a buzz around what's happening on a global aspect in the medical field. Little by little starts creeping in, and then we start going to full-on shutdown medical care, but it's in New York, it's in California, not hitting the Montana area. But then more and more it started hitting the entire country, and now it's literally starting hitting the Midwest, etc. So what was that like for you, not only as a nurse, but also a business owner, to see this happening? And how was it for you, and what happened for you and your sister?
Yeah, so I was actually in Baja last winter and flew back to Montana on March 10th, which was the day that the pandemic was declared. And so we didn't have a really good sense of what was going on, or I specifically didn't, because I'd been in Baja for almost 2 months, kind of disconnected. And I flew back in, and I actually went to work the next day because I had to resume my shift work. And as soon as I stepped foot in the hospital, I had a whole new understanding of the seriousness of the situation. The infectious disease docs were all rounding, they were answering questions. You know, everybody had a lot of what ifs and unknowns, and brought up a lot of fear in people because we work in an already hard-pressed environment. We already witness a lot of trauma, a lot of death, and we understand the bounds of the system. And I think the pandemic has really just shown us those cracks in our system that already exist. And you apply just a little bit of pressure and everything kind of blows wide open. And I will say in Montana, it did kind of trickle in and hit us, you know, a little bit later than the rest of the country. We're a rural state just by the fact that we don't have a high population here. It did allow us more time to prepare, and we were really thankful for that. There's also that anxiety of the unknown of like, what's going to happen? When is this going to happen? And just trying to show up every day to work and prepare the best you can and support your coworkers. Because I think that that expectation and that anxiety was the biggest thing for us here in Montana, because we weren't exactly sure what to expect here.
I have to say I agree with you. I mean, I live in a small town of 20,000 residents, and we've been in the bubble. We've been very, very careful to be in the bubble. We have families that we stay in, like, I only go to your house, you only come to my house, we're in the bubble. And if you leave the bubble, we have to be very honest in regards of, I left the bubble, I'm staying home, I'm getting tested, etc. When you're looking at a Montana, and again, I've been very lucky to be there. I mean, I've gone to Montana 3 times, and again, by far, one of my favorite states. It's an untapped gem that most people don't think about, because they're thinking about like flying in different locations, or even if they're like doing a drive-through or in the country, people don't think about Montana as much. Pristine, beautiful, like the country as it really should be at any given time. And you're right, low amount of individuals that are in regards to residents. How do you prepare? Like, how does the hospital prepare their team? Because I'm assuming because you have a lower amount of residents, you don't have as much equipment. And so if you have individuals now that, okay, so now I can't travel outside the country, I'm going to start traveling within my country. So now you're getting a lot more visitors. How are you protecting your residents with visitors coming in and not as much equipment at the hospital for a pandemic?
Yeah, so it's difficult because tourism is one of our main industries, right? So as everyone's dealing with this balance between business and our main influx of cash for our state and for businesses, and then also trying to balance our space in our hospitals and the equipment that we have. I think our hospital in particular in Missoula did a really great job of just making sure that they could secure and stockpile supplies for the duration, not knowing what that would look like long term. And again, just education, just really hitting it hard on a regional level, just trying to educate people on like, look, I know we're all different, we all see things differently, but these are just like tools in your toolbox. No one's trying to control you. Nobody's trying to tell you what to do. We're giving you tools in your toolbox to be part of, a team and be team players here. And in some areas it worked really well, other areas it did not. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles with humans in general.
I agree with you. I mean, I live in Massachusetts where we have the top hospitals in the world, and we had the same thing. I mean, people just assume if you live in a place where there's a lot more individuals and a lot more hospitals, a lot more money being fueled, that, oh, it's like, you know, it's going to be great, but our numbers are just as high as anywhere else because people are just people. I mean, humans are humans. It's a self-serving moment where I'm fine or you're not fine. It is what it is. I always say that at the end of the day, as long as you are able to function and take care of your community, then we're going to be in a good shape. Oops, we lost you for a little bit. Oh, there you go. I was gonna say.
Yep. Am I back?
Yep, you're back, and I'm like,
I know.
I'm hot. All right, so let's switch over to
I know.
the business owner that you are. You're an active nurse. You're an active nurse, and then you decide to start a business. Being an entrepreneur, now you went from being the outdoorsy person, you're still the outdoorsy person, but you're like literally being on the river, becoming a nurse, and now you decide to be a business owner with your sister. Why would you go that route? Because being an entrepreneur, not easy. Another thing that's just not easy. And I feel that there's you have this thing, you like to go to things that are not easy, that are very, very challenging, that are having you engaged. Why did you decide to go into business? Is there someone in your family that's already an entrepreneur that you just thought, hey, if they can do it, we can do it? So why entrepreneurship and why this business in particular?
That's a great question. I think that I'm always kind of looking for the next avenue of knowledge. Like I said, I'm a lifelong learner. I got a real independent streak. I do like to do hard things on purpose. I know that it takes me a long time to learn things and I have to work really hard to achieve anything in life, and that's fine with me. I always joke that I'm a chipper awayer, and I like to have these kind of marathon long-term goals that I just chip away at over time in addition to whatever else I'm doing. And I think that kind of spirit, that mentality of like, oh, we'll just see what's through this door and down this path and we'll see where it leads. I'm just curious to learn about something new. I got into school to be a nurse practitioner, and then I ended up having my daughter and decided against going to NP school. And so naturally I just wanted to own my time. Same reason I became a nurse. I'm like, what can I work on and learn about without being in such a structured school environment, and acquiring even more student loans. And entrepreneurship had always kind of been boiling in the back of my mind. And it was actually, in Baja where we were kite surfers. We like to be out in the ocean. We do a lot of soul searching when we go off grid. And I just kind of came up with this idea of like Patagonia of the workplace. Like there's space here and I'm really curious about business. I run a pretty tight ship financially because, we live a pretty nice life, but not a lot of money. And so I'm always curious about efficiency and means. And so a natural fit was just to kind of explore entrepreneurship. And then I started talking to people about it and creating a brand like this for people like me and like my friend group of this powerful, strong women who do hard things on purpose and show up every day and kind of do the dirty work with grit and grace and with a smile and a good attitude most of the time. I just realized that a lot of the branding out there for scrubs in particular and medical workwear were either hyper-sexualized and glamorized in a way that didn't really reflect our jobs or who we were as kind of authentic moms and just normal people showing up and working hard. Or just, the kind of old school where it hadn't evolved in a long time. And there's just a lot of fabrics out there that the outdoor industry has really pioneered and engineered in the ways of sustainability, whether it's using recycled materials, recycled plastic bottles for all the polyester, hemp and tencel, incorporation into the weaves to create performance fabric. And I'm just, really started to go down this path, and also my connections in life. A lot of my friends who didn't go into healthcare went into working for outdoor apparel companies or are videographers, photographers, adventure filmmakers. And so I tried to just like look around and see who my lifelong friends were and just what kind of community I had and what would be a best fit. And it all kind of just fit together. And then I recruited my sister because it's like, who else can you get to like help you for free to create something out of nothing besides your sister? And Golden is a librarian. She lives in Southern Oregon where we grew up, and she's a mom, and she just has kind of untapped potential as far as super intelligent. We're both the first in our families to graduate college. Golden first, she's older, and then myself. And I'm just thought this would be a really fun journey for us as sisters to kind of go down this path of just a whole new skill set and knowledge set. And luckily she said yes.
All right, so why scrubs? I mean, like everything that you're saying right now, I could take it. I take all that knowledge that you just said and intertwine it into any industry, any job, any idea or concept or service. Why scrubs? And yes, I'm assuming because I'm a nurse, but give me more.
Yeah, so I became a nurse. I went, of course, to find my uniform. I'm coming from the outdoor industry. I have a kit, a specific layering system for every activity that I do. I wear the same exact things when I go kayaking, every single time. When I go snowboarding, I wear the same exact clothing, the same outfit every time. And so I went to work and I went to buy scrubs, and I was just like, where's the kit? Where's the layering system? Where's the fabrics? Where's the sustainability, the ethics? I want to know who made my clothes. I want to make sure that a child in some far off place didn't make my clothes for pennies to the dollar. And I couldn't find that. And so I think when I first became a nurse, it kind of sparked in my mind of like, why isn't there this kind of outdoor industry influence in this space where so many of us work? And it just seems like a natural progression to kind of take some of the style of the outdoor industry in addition to the technology and the fabrics and the fit, and transfer it over to medical workwear, and basically just trying to create a vibe and a brand that fit my lifestyle that wasn't out there.
So I literally, so I just, I had to, I went to Florida for my mom's 75th birthday. I did it. I wore like a shield. Literally I went on Amazon, got a hazmat suit, had the shield, had the mask. I was never going to let her celebrate her 75th birthday by herself. So I was there. And when I came back, I went to get tested, and I had my scrubs on. I had my leggings underneath, had my scrubs. I figure it's the easiest thing to clean. And the woman that was giving me the test, nurse, she's like, are you a visiting nurse or are you a nurse? I'm like, no, not at all. She's like, and I in my mind, I'm like, why would you ask me that question? And she goes, scrubs. I go, oh my God. I go, my entire life, I have so many doctors in my family. I literally go to their houses and I just snatch their scrubs because they're the most comfortable things ever in existence. I've had my scrubs literally since I was a teenager. They're durable, they last, etc. What's the difference between the typical blue scrubs that everyone knows of and the ones that you're creating right now? Because I mean, they've kept. I've watched them time and time again. I have indoor, outdoor. They're the bee's knees. What makes yours different than the ones that everyone is aware of? The green ones and the blue ones.
Yeah, so we really started with function. And so our jobs are really based on having all your supplies on you. Time management, efficiency is super important to keeping up with your day. It's a really intense, fast-paced environment. And so we really started, I partnered up with an outdoor designer friend of mine. She designs clothes for some of the top outdoor companies. And we really wanted to do an athletic fit, make sure that it fit all kinds of bodies, not just a typical body. Additionally, just make sure we have enough pockets everywhere so people can choose how they arrange their supplies. We did a high-waisted yoga style waistband. One of the big problems with scrubs currently is exposing our bodies when we're in tight spaces, we're in deep squats, we're bending over. You can't even imagine the amount of awkward circumstances where our bodies get exposed on accident in a very intimate moment for our patient, and it's uncomfortable for them and uncomfortable for us. So really just making sure that in all positions our bodies are covered. We really focus on a higher neckline so you don't get the gaping V neck, which traditional scrubs typically have. Making sure that that high waistband when you're in a full squat doesn't move from your natural waist, and trying to adapt some of those functional and fit aspects to create more of a second skin garment that wasn't like a yoga pant. It's not skin tight. You still have room to breathe and move and work, and pockets to make sure that you can have all your stuff on you without them falling out all over the place. And so we really started from this place of function.
I love that you just went down the line of all the different things that you're going through and how not only are you experiencing it because you're wearing them, but also because you're watching your colleagues. It's funny that as you're saying this, and I'm thinking about the scrubs, the only thing I can think about is the fact that you can wear them in reverse and there's the pockets on the one pocket on the bottom. And I can think of every single time that I've been in the hospital because I took care of my grandmother for 21 years. So I spent a lot of time at Mass General. And I could remember, like, yes, the V, and then you see the hair of the guy and the doctor. So yes, you have all those visions. And I'm like, functionality is like, you're right. I mean, it's not functional at all, but yet it's what we're used to seeing. And so I love that you went this route. When you think about being an entrepreneur, so there are a lot of individuals that are always thinking, I have an idea, I have a concept, I have a pain point. This clearly was your pain point. What would you say to anyone that is in the hospital with you, that's watching you, and then they're like constantly fascinated at the fact that you're juggling two worlds and they want to do something, but they're afraid? What would you say to anyone that has an innovation, that's an entrepreneur that wants to be that business owner, and yet fear is just there, and yet they're watching you? What would be an advice of how do I get the ball rolling to start my own business?
Yeah, I would just say dip your toes in. It doesn't have to be this really intense, huge thing right off the bat. I think starting with education and finding a course or something that's related to the product or service you want to develop, and just learn about it. I mean, and if you're interested and you're passionate, you continue down the path. I think tenacity is a real winner in the long game with entrepreneurship, because we all get burnt out in life. I'm experiencing that right now a little bit. Like, I'm just tired, from all the aspects of things. I feel like I'm not super productive, but I know that I'm not going to give up. And so you just continue putting one step in front of the other, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, and giving yourself grace for all that. I mean, life can be really hard. Being a human can be a really difficult experience, no matter how blessed you are. And I just think giving yourself a little bit of grace and self-compassion. I'm huge on self-compassion and self-kindness. Just be nice to yourself. And then in that way, you can just steadily move forward. And if you're not interested, then don't. Like, it tells you enough right there,
It's funny because the tenacity, you clearly have it. Clearly you have it. The jobs that you chose, or maybe the jobs chose you, starting from when you were younger, and the love of nature, the love of humankind, and the love of making sure that you're protecting. It's saying you're consistent, and you have chosen the ones that were not like, I'm going to create pencils. You chose skill sets that were going to push you and push you and push you. Where do you feel, you're in retail. Where do you feel that's going right now? Because it's something that people aren't thinking too hard on. Who's your target audience that you're going after? And are they willing to push the envelope of making changes and doing something that will protect them? But at the same time, do we want to go down that route of spending those dollars that we don't know what the rest of the year or next year is going to be like? So you are now in retail. It's a very, very tricky spot for a lot of hospitals or individuals that want to pay for your product. Where do you see the pandemic helping or hurting you now? And also, where do you see retail going in the future?
Yeah, clearly everyone's pivoting to e-commerce. We started out, our focus was on e-commerce in the beginning. And so we didn't have to change our mentality too much. We pay a lot to get our stuff made in this way that we want to stick true to our values. Therefore, our margins don't really accommodate a wholesale business at this point in time. And that's fine. As we learn and we progress, perhaps that avenue will open up to us. But we are also a niche business. So we really try and keep the mentality of small business is good business. And perhaps over time, as we learn more and are capable of more as humans, and our business is capable of more, perhaps we will scale to a huge, larger business model. But right now we're really focused on this niche of like women in medicine who, partake in outdoorsy kind of vibe. And we're getting, mountain screen printed on our scrubs and trying to infuse this mountain spirit into our brand, but also into the rugged look of our workwear itself. And so we're really after just a small group of people to have a good, thriving business that is operating online mostly. A huge part of my goal is that Golden and I both can work from anywhere in the world. So we utilize professional contractors. Like, we rely pretty heavily on people who are good and professionals in their own profession, with marketing and design and, ethical sourcing and everything. We're really just trying to be the people who piece together the puzzle and create an e-commerce platform where we can market these things. Word of mouth, organic reach has been huge for us. We did some Instagram and Facebook marketing. But for our Kickstarter campaign, that's how we launched our business. We did a crowdfunding campaign, 30 days to pre-sell our scrubs to pay for our first manufacturing order. And it was very organic. We had a Bad to the Bone Kickstarter video that a friend of mine made for us. I think that was huge, and really conveyed our brand well. But yeah, just really focusing on e-commerce, social media, organic growth, and being authentic and reaching the people that we specifically are kind of trying to reach and connecting with them as humans. And that's really made us successful as far as hitting all of our markers that we wanted to hit in this beginning phase of our business.
You mentioned, as you were talking about the team, you have a lot of women that you have like found rock stars, a bunch of rock stars. One, I think that's a lot of things, a lot of the biggest hindrance for a lot of small businesses, for startups, for entrepreneurs, is to find the team. To find not only the team, but to find rock star individuals that have the same mentality as you. They may not have, and I always tell people, they don't have to love your company, but they have to love what they do for your company. So how are you finding these people? Because every single entrepreneur that I've ever spoken to, every single small business, that is their biggest problem, is finding the people. So how are you finding the people? And during this pandemic, how have you been keeping the team together?
Yeah, so I pretty much just put myself out there as much as possible. And I just kept going down the path of like, this is what I want to know about. Do you know anybody that does this kind of thing? Women business owners that own product-based businesses that do all their marketing on their own, and just try and meet those people and just talking with anybody that would meet with me for advice, for a conversation. And I just learned so much. And every conversation I would get just a piece or a name of another person. Oh, maybe this person could help you with that. The Montana World Trade Center, I got connected with the director of the Montana World Trade Center, who taught me a lot about importing and exporting and global supply chains. I mean, topics that I wasn't even I didn't even know how to go about finding the language to know what to learn, and finding professionals in that space who gave me the words to Google, as simple as that, of like, this is what you're talking about. This is the phrase, because I'm starting with a blank slate. Mm-hmm. And in that way, just kind of following the path and piecing together and just really getting after trying to meet as many women specifically in business, because that's my jam, and learn as much as I could from them. And then you just find you connect with some people more than others, and then they become, more of a mentor to you. There's a couple women in Montana who own apparel businesses who've been amazing with connecting me with pattern makers, sample makers. So I don't have to go the LA development company route, which is extremely expensive because I'm paying LA prices, not Montana prices, right? Our lifestyles are just inherently different. And so in that way, I've just found my team. And now I'm just excited because I'm over a year into it. And I just know, looking forward, developing new styles, it's just going to be a lot easier for me moving forward because of the generosity of other women business owners and giving up their contacts too. It's not a competition, it's a collaboration. They want to see me succeed. And I hold that very dearly. Of course, I wouldn't take advantage of that information, and just kind of have that team spirit, even with people who are in the same space as you business wise.
I love that the whole entire concept. It's not competition, it's collaboration. I feel that more and more people need to understand that. And if they did understand that, then they would succeed. And I feel like during a crisis, it's not just a pandemic, but during any crisis, this is like a moment. And I'll use an example of when the marathon bombing happened in Boston. The police chief had, when he first came in, he noticed that the FBI, the CIA, no one worked together. And so he decided to have every Friday they had lunch, or breakfast, I should say. They had breakfast every Friday. When the marathon bombing happened, they all came to him and said, "What do you need?" And everyone's like, "How did that happen so quickly?" He was like, "I work with people before I need them." So just to know that you are very smart about the collaboration, it's just such a needed thing that people just take for granted, and or they're just so in their bubble that they forget about it's okay to work together with someone that may be your competitor, because that person might become your partner. So that's like fantastic to hear.
Exactly.
When do you sleep? You are a nurse, you have a family, we are in a pandemic, you have a business. When do you sleep? Because you have a young family. Like, I mean, so how does this work out? Like, what do you do?
Well, I went down to part-time at the hospital about a month ago, and I think that's probably the biggest thing. And for my own mentality and energy reserves, it's just a hard place to be so frequently, and then come home, and I have a 2.5-year-old daughter and a husband and a home. And but yeah, I'm pretty protective of my time. You know, it's interesting through the pandemic because of course we're all not social, and therefore the social time has been freed up for me to kind of protect my energy, to sleep, to have a routine with my daughter. She comes with me everywhere. We're just like, she's my little sidekick. It can feel like I have ADHD at times because, you know, you're making like 10 micro meals a day and they want something different. And she can be a little bit of a tyrant, as all 2.5, 3-year-olds can be. And just try and be fluid and just rest when I'm tired. And again, that self-compassion, that self-kindness. When I start being hard on myself and motivating myself with like, what is wrong with you? You need to work harder. You need to do more. You're not being productive enough. You have so much to do. Why can't you like get up and just get it done? I just try and back away from the mindset, because and the studies show too that in your body, you know, instead of reacting, having a stress response and having cortisol and all those stress hormones pump through your body, you can actually tap back into parasympathetic operation and feel calmer, think more clearly. And so I really just try to remind myself that. I do a lot of deep breathing in bed in the morning. That's kind of my form of self-kindness meditation, hands on the belly, deep breathing, and speaking kindly to myself and forgiving myself for maybe things I didn't accomplish. And so I can wake up and just like kind of start fresh every day. Obviously, that doesn't happen every day. I still have breakdowns, or I'm hard on myself, or have just terrible times at work, you know, and come home and just have a harder time readjusting my physical and mental body. But I am super mindful about that. I try and get outside with my daughter every single day. Again, we're super lucky. We can walk out our door and walk down country roads. And I drive an hour each way to work, but it's so worth it for me to be able to live out here in the Bitterroot Valley and just be able to have access to nature, because that's what really fills my cup and also makes it so my daughter and I don't go crazy in the house all the time.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm very lucky as well, where, I mean, I'm literally a hop, skip, and a jump to the ocean, where, and I can see it from my window. And it's just those moments, but I get up in the morning, I have the routine of, you get up, I make the bed, I go to the refrigerator, I like go to the bathroom, but I smile. I like literally, like, no matter if I feel like my face is hanging, I'm so tired. I go in the mirror and I smile, and just that one little thing where, okay, it's going to be okay. And before I go to bed every night, I take a shower, and in the shower, I go down the list of like, okay, I know I was hard on myself, but what did we accomplish today? And I get so excited. If I accomplish 5 awesome things, I'm good. And that's just like rinse away everything else. And then tomorrow is a whole new day.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So 2 more questions. When you are thinking about where you go next, like where do you see your company growing? As in, are you looking at more product lines? Are you looking at educating individuals on how to be more smarter in regards to sustainability in the retail? Like, where do you see this going? Because you had this idea, you came up with this concept, you pulled in your sister, which we're going to talk about her name, Golden. Don't think I didn't hear that. But I want to hear, where do you go next with this? Where do you see yourself evolving, whether it's in 6 months from now, a year from now? And also, who's your best client?
Yeah, so in the next year specifically, we're really focused on just getting our business going. You know, we launched our business on this pre-order model, and therefore we just made our first manufacturing run. It's a artisan supply chain, so it's slow fashion. I mean, we're delivering our Kickstarter campaign, fulfilling all of those orders in April. So we're kind of in a hang time period in time. And seeking other products. We have a slogan, "Mountains are my medicine." And so we have branded recycled hoodies, made from recycled materials, and t-shirts and so on. So we're kind of expanding and preparing to relaunch our store in April when we fulfill our first orders. But really, it's just about getting those orders out there, aggressively getting feedback from our core audience, because these are our biggest supporters, right? They believed in us when there was nothing really to believe in yet. And just try and fine tune everything. We have an amazing pattern maker now, and just refinement. And then we feel confident that we'll be able to scale. And just we'll probably operate on a pre-order model for the next 5 quarters at least, and launch single color launches in small quantities. And that in itself would be a success for us for 2021 specifically. For Golden and I, continue learning and expanding. Because to be quite honest, we're not ready personally to scale yet. Our supply chain's not quite ready. Our knowledge base isn't quite ready. So we need time to continue to learn and to continue to educate ourselves in order to handle any scale on a larger level. But the audience that we're speaking to, again, is this kind of group of badass medical ladies, so to speak. I don't know if I can say that. But,
no, I love it. Yes, say it.
And so really just speaking to our audience and having a conversation with our core supporters. We have a small following overall. We probably have 1,600 people on our email list and 1,200 followers on Instagram, but we're really engaged with those people, and we have conversations with them. And when they reach out to us, I reach out to them and speak directly to them. So I think that they're really our core audience of these ladies are really going to help us develop our brand. And when we're ready to scale, that we're going to be able to go for it.
Oh my God, I love it so much. All right, I have to ask Golden. Where did Golden come from? Because, and is it just the two of you?
No, we have an older sister named Ren as well.
All right, come on, give me the names. Your parents are just so awesome. So
yeah,
what do their names too?
Well, and actually, Oriana in many languages means golden, and so I'm not sure with Golden specifically. Her name is Golden Cascade, which was hard for her through her life to have an adjective as a first name. And obviously, I went to public school, but my sisters didn't. We all went to a hippie private school when we were growing up, and so a lot of kids had unusual names, But yeah, she was born in the Cascade Mountains of Oregon, in the foothills of the Cascade. That's where she got her middle name. My sister, Ren Siskiyou, we were born in the Siskiyou Mountains. Yeah. My middle name is Meadow Song. I was born in a yurt in a meadow. It's all pretty literal.
One of my best friends, Jose, has 3. He's a single dad in New York. He has 3 Avery. We'll call it, Avery is named after the street that they were on. Lila is the road after his mom. London Rose is because London is where he was proposed to, and Rose is the flower because he's a Valentine's Day baby. So I love anything. Any name that has a story. My name, Jodi. I was when my mother was pregnant in Haiti. I was supposed to be a boy, so it's supposed to be Ray Jr. And when I was born, they're like, it's a girl. Ooh, we don't have a name for that. And so I got out of the subway and saw this billboard, and the story still is just, we still don't know, but he says it was a borough queen. My mom says it was Subway Queen. Her name was Jodi. Apparently she was beautiful. My dad named me after the Subway Borough Queen of New York. And I've looked for her and I can't find her. So, but it's a story. And so I figured that as long as you have a unique name, there's a great story about it. The conversation goes on for days. So I love your story. All right. So question to you is, which of course I'm not gonna lie, you love your parents, love your parents. If you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you right now, so a personal and a professional ask, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask to anyone that is listening right now?
Yeah, so I think my personal ask is just for people to be kind to themselves and to others. I think there's a lot of tension going on in society right now, and it reflects in all kinds of ways and comes out in all kinds of ways. And if people can really start with themselves and be kind and compassionate to themselves, hopefully that will translate outward to others, and you can be kind and compassionate toward other people, even if they're different than you and believe different than you. Because I think we really need that right now, both in and out of the hospital. As far as a professional ask, I think it's a two-part one. Obviously as a nurse, I just want people to be practical and use their critical thinking skills separate from all the information available out there, and just really look inward as far as how to practically be a good neighbor and a good person and protect their families and those around them, just on a very practical level. I just want people to be practical. And from a business point of view, of course, supporting businesses that are trying to make changes on a bigger level, really investing their time and money in small businesses, supporting their communities, voting with their dollar, making sure that they're mindful of all the things that they consume. And yeah, I think that would be the main ones.
Oriana, you are beautiful. You're beautiful. I mean, I am so happy I saw you on TV, because this hour went by fast. But honest to goodness, you are just lovely. So thank you very much for being on this planet. Thank you very much for doing what you do. I mean, I'm just super psyched that I got to meet you, and I'm so excited to tell more people about you, because you're awesome. That's all I'm going to keep saying. You are just very calming as well.
Unless I'm fired up.
I'm fired up all the time, and then there are times where I'm like, oh, but no, you know what? Thank you so very much for taking time to talk about who you are, what you do, and your business. So I really do, truly appreciate it. I mean, I have so many family members that are in the medical world. It's like that. As an immigrant kid, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer. It's the rule. I'm the outlier. I'm a business person, so they're confused by me. But I love that I now have a gift. So I'm super excited that I'm able to do that. So are we able to buy? Can I buy online?
Yeah, so we're still accepting pre-orders. Again, they'll all be fulfilled in April, but www.medicinemountainscrubs.com. You can pre-order on there. We also have some great collaborations with local Montana businesses to support women-owned businesses, and additionally donate to gift these curated boxes to healthcare workers. So it's a two-part thing, supporting women-owned local businesses in Montana, but also trying to uplift the morale of specifically our hospital workers here in Montana.
You're awesome. Thank you so very much for your time. This has been so spectacular, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited and so proud of you. So thank you to my beautiful nurse. Oh my goodness, you're my first nurse that I got to speak to, so I really do appreciate it. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that's a lie. My second nurse. You're my second nurse that I spoke to, so I really do appreciate your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And
thank you.
And I'm going to come back to you. So literally I'm coming back to you. So I will come back to you in the spring to see how you are doing and what happens to your company next, because this is not our only conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Jodi.
All right. Bye.